Park in Osaka is my first landscape project in Japan. I was very excited to be able to work in Japan. I had visited for the first time maybe 3 years before. It took me a long time to get to Japan. And I was just so amazed at all the different landscapes I visited and about the vegetation. So for me, it was such an opportunity to be able to work in a country that I really admire. I admire the people, I admire what they have created out of their country. It's a very special culture, so trying to learn more about the culture and being very respectful of the culture was very important to me. And to learn how the city of Osaka came about, what was the history. So making it really a park about Osaka that only could exist in Osaka. It couldn't exist anyplace else because it's based on the history of the place and the history of greenery, the history of water everywhere, of channels of water that are moving around, and this vegetation that comes with it, the amount of birds and things that are so part of that natural environment. And learning about it was fascinating to see that it is a really special place, Osaka. It's not like any place else in Japan, and it was at first going, whoa, this is amazing. And to have, the castle on the hill, the stonework, the history, all the history of all the canals, and saying, okay, this is a place that likes entertainment, but it likes its nature also. And so how do we get that balance of the entertainment, the joyousness of Osaka, known all over Japan, and at the same time, a really strong natural environment. And so getting those two balances together was very important. The site was quite a challenge because it has two north-south pieces, and it has a road through the center, which is really important because it connects different parts of Osaka where people work. And that between the train stations and different offices and housing. So the street's very important, but at the same time it separates it out into north and south. So connecting those two areas through the inspiration path, which is an elevated path that becomes a bridge, also means that you move the land up so that the street becomes a performance space. So you have the stepped plaza because the street will be closed for events at certain times. And so instead of being a negative space, it becomes a positive space. And it's a space that you cross over either on the ground level or along the ground level or over above on the bridge. So it has a lot of different experiences. Then the North Park and South Park are designed differently. The North Park is very discovery, much more natural. It has a lake, it has the museum, very civic. A beautiful museum, by the way. It also has different learning centers. So it's very, very, very civic, North Park. South Park it's got the valley, it's got shopping, it's got an event space, the big amphitheater, it has the Sana canopy. We've also planted quite a few cherry trees so that when the cherry festival blossom happens, I have been able to be part of that in Osaka when it did happen, where everybody goes outside and in the evening, and it's lovely. So we have not one area, we have 3 different areas that have concentrations of cherry trees. And so we can celebrate that festival also. Works with the environment. An example, the lake is at one point, the sun will set exactly on axe in that lake, and it will light up the facade of the museum. So that whole face will become golden at sunset. So things like that are thought about all throughout the project. Where is the sun? Where is light? Where is it moving? How is the sun moving? What happens when it rains? So understanding that there's magic that happens with weather also. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. We've worked really hard. Yeah, me too. It's important that the park is really in the center of Osaka. And I think that this is happening over many parts of the world where our train stations are in the center. So all the rails come in and they take a lot of land. And so by putting the rails underground, we free up parks in the center of cities. We did a park in Valencia that's the same problematic. And so all of a sudden you go from a land that's not usable to a land that's very usable. And it means that as people come into the stations, all of a sudden there's this opportunity to have a park instead of, oh, there's a rail line there and I have to walk over here, I have to go over a bridge, or I have to. So the connectivity of that to all the neighborhoods is magic. And I think it's really important how this is one thing that the rail stations can bring, is they bring people to the center. So I think it's really important to have the train stations come here because it brings this embracing of people. And so people who live there all the time embrace with people who are visiting. I think that's a good thing. It's very civic.
暮らしを向上させていきたいとか、健康に毎日日々暮らしていきたいとか、いろんなところでそういった明日に向かって未来に向かって良くしていきたいっていう気持ちが生まれるような空間で、それをインスパイアするようなプロジェクト、場所、そういった公園にしたいっていうところで、インスピレーションっていう言葉がキーワードになりました。でそこで南北をつなげていくその道がインスピレーションパスとして、で、そこが日本語に訳されてひらめきの道となったんですが、交差点を一歩渡ると公園、違う空間に来たような公園空間っていう、その一つの大きな公園、緑がたくさんあるプロジェクトっていうふうに感じられるようにデザインしたいと思ってたので、そういった空間に来た。でそこをつなぐものがそのひらめきの道というようなコンセプトです。で一つすごく気を使ってデザインしたのが、橋になるところでちょっと太鼓橋状になってるんですよね。それは南公園から来た時にスッと北公園まで見渡せてしまわないように 1.5 メートル上げてあります、中心部を。でどんどん上に上がっていくっていうことによって見えるものが変わっていく、で下に下がっていくっていうところでまた自分が見てる風景が変わっていく。ホリゾンタルだけじゃなくてバーティカルにも見えるものが変わっていく。で特に北から南、南から北に移動するときにどんどんリビールされていくっていうような経験、見えなかったものがちょっとずつ見える。でそういったような視界の展開の仕方によって、いろんな見どころがあるような道になっていると思います。植栽の配置についてなんですけど、やっぱり同じものを同じような感覚で並べていってしまうとメリハリがつかないっていうところで、また多様な場所、木々に囲まれてるような場所、エントリーガーデンとかは小さめの木が植わってまして、全体的に緑とかその花の色、白いゾーンだったら白いものに囲まれているような感じを受けるような場所になっていたりとか、北公園とか南公園の丘の上でもやっぱり特定な場所、レストランとか、あとはエントリーの位置とか滝がよく見える位置とかからは、植栽がどちらかというとフレームするような、植栽の間を抜けてそのハイライトしているものが見えるような配置になってます。 住んでる方、仕事の方でたまに遊びに来る方、誰にとってもみんなが自分の公園って思えるような公園になってほしいなと思っていて、ローカルの住んでる方でも働いてる方でも遊びに来てる方でも自分がやりたかったことが自由にできる、そういったことを、そういう使い方を通してみんなこの公園がその人の公園になっていくような、その日々の使い勝手もできるし、週末遊びに来た時もイベント的にみんなで集まろうよっていうこともできるし、いろんな使い方、いろんな時に訪れてもらえるといいなと思ってます。
The park will be open in 2.5 years. It's the beginning of a park. A park, when it first happens, it's a baby. It's small. It's where you need to really take care of it like a baby. And so I think it's going to influence people because they're going to understand that they have this young thing that they have to take care of. And then as they get older, it gets older. And as they get taller, the kids, the trees get taller. So I think it's great to have a new park in your neighborhood because all of a sudden your first memories as a child are going to be the memories of those trees that were planted. And then when you have your own children, you can say, I remember when that ginkgo was only this big and now it's huge. And so I think the evolution is about appropriation. People appropriate parks, they become theirs. And I think the more they appropriate, the more they take care of it, and the more it becomes part of their lives. And I think it's the most positive thing about parks.